I think there's a kind of mixed view about how people, what they actually want. I think for us, we very much look at manufacturers and think that we want the models themselves, but actually we are less interested in data. And that might seem a bit Irish when you kind of think about it, but we actually want generic information. We want less information rather than more information. The information that we're trying to produce is design information. And so if you look in PAS 1192 Part 2, it describes generic and manufacturer's data. The data that people kind of get confused about is that manufacturer's data actually needs to be for the FM purposes, and that's at the end of the project rather than during the project. And for me, having spoken to a lot of contractors, it's actually about providing enough data to get costing and that kind of thing out of it during the process without flooding them with data. So it's actually just about getting that kind of quantity right, if you like. Well, again, for us, specifying them, I'm a BIM manager, an architect by training, but for me, if I went to an architect and said you can only specify these manufacturers because they create content, and they said, well, I want to use a different product, I would get thrown out of the room. So in an ideal world, yes, we'd be using all BIM content and that would be the way we'd go, and that's the way we want it to move, but the reality is that it comes down to the best specification and the best product, and that's what we want to choose. That said, if it's between the toss-up between two companies, then we would probably choose the one with BIM. And I think the other thing that manufacturers need to think about is that it's about the contractor and what the contractor wants, and contractors want BIM. So rather than the architect wanting BIM, it's what contractors actually want and clients ultimately. I think for me the most important thing is to think before you dive in. So don't stop. You need to carry on and you need to move forward with your processes, but not kind of go, oh, it's not ready, we need to stop and think about this, but actually kind of move forward as much as you can. But I think a lot of manufacturers think that it's one particular piece of software. They've heard of the Revit word, or the R word as we like to call it, and they think that is BIM, and they advertise that as BIM, and actually there's multiple formats out there. So I think they need to understand that there are these multiple formats, that data requirements are going to change dependent on projects, and they kind of need to be flexible. But I think as well it's a long journey, that you're not going to get the answer tomorrow, that you might get the answer in 10 years. We've been doing this for 19 years, so it's a long process to get to where you need to get to.